Hello Internet, today I thought I would go through solving a radical equation. This particular problem is from the OpenStax Intermediate Algebra textbook. Great textbooks, by the way, you should check them out, link in the description. This particular problem is from section 8.6. It's problem number 287, or exercise number 287. Anyway, so in this particular problem, or any problem like this where we're asked to solve a radical equation, the first thing we want to look at is the radical piece, or the radical component, the radical part of it. The radical term, I guess, is the mathy word for it. Is the radical term isolated on either side of the equal sign? It doesn't really matter whether it's on this side or that side, as long as it's the only thing on that side of the equal sign. There's nothing else being subtracted or added to it, etc. So in this case, that's already been done for us. The radical term is already isolated, so we can proceed to the next step. And that next step is, well, first let me write the original problem. 5x minus 6 under the square root symbol equals 8. So the next step to solving this is we have to get this algebraic expression out from underneath this radical. And the way to do that, generally speaking, is to square both sides of the equal sign, or both sides of the equation, or cube it. If this was a cube root, we would cube both sides, but it's not. So we just have to square both sides because this is a square root. So that will essentially undo this radical for us and leave us with just the stuff that's underneath it. So I'll walk you through how that works. So we're going to square this side, and what we do to one side, we also have to do to the other side. So we're going to square that as well. So if we think of it like this, the square root of 5x minus 6, all of that squared, that's just going to be the 5x minus 6. Because, let me insert another page here. Basically, the generalized form of this is square root of stuff squared is just going to be the stuff. That's generally going to be the case. This is the tool that we're basically using to get rid of that square root symbol and leave us with just the stuff underneath it. So let me go back to the previous page here. So that's that. That's how this piece becomes this thing. And 8 squared, that's just going to be some kind of number. That's a job for a calculator. Turn on my little TI-83. 8 squared. Yeah, okay, so 64. Simple enough. All right, so now where are we at? Well, our goal, again, here is to solve for x. We need to solve this equation. So how do we isolate this term with x in it first? Well, we've got this thing here that's subtracting 6 from the thing we're trying to isolate. So that means this isn't particularly isolated, is it? Because we've got this extra thing tacked on. So in order to get rid of this, we have to add it. Because it is a subtraction of 6, we have to add 6 to both sides. And then this will end up being just the 5x. And then this will end up being some kind of number. 64, let's see, 64 plus 6 is 70. Okay, 70. All right, so now how do we proceed from here? Well, what's happening between the 5 and the x? It's multiplication there. So what's the opposite of that operation? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division, of course. So we will divide both sides of this equation by that 5 that we don't want there. And this ends up just being x. I'm going to write this all up here because I'm a little bit out of space here. So this will end up just being x, and then this will end up being some kind of number again, 70 divided by 5. All right, 14. X equals 14. Now, always ask yourself when you think you're finished with a problem, does the answer actually answer the problem? Well, it should. It might. However, in this particular case, because we used this squaring principle, this squaring tool to solve this equation, we always have to check our answers, because whenever you square something, the possibility exists for negative signs to get ripped off, and that can result in answers that don't make sense in the original problem. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a check here with this remainder of this space here. I'm going to write the original square root of 5x minus 6. Does that equal 8? That's the question we're asking. So let's see. So now we plug in the 14 in for x. So we will have the square root of 5 times 14 minus 6. And our question is, does that equal the 8? Well, now we've got some math to do here, arithmetic. So 5 times 14 minus 6. I'm just going to do it all in one piece because you can do that on the calculator. If not, you could have done 5 times 14, got that answer, and then subtracted 6 from it, but this is just a little bit faster. So 64 is going to be under the radical. Does that equal 8? So the question is, does the square root of 64 equal 8? 64. Does 8 equal 8? Yes, it does in fact equal 8. All right, so basically, because we got a true statement here, that proves that our answer here was in fact the answer. All right, I think that is all for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If so, please like and subscribe. Also, consider hiring me as your tutor. I would be happy to help you with stuff like this. For more on that, check out my website at www.tutoringbyroger.com. Thanks again for watching, and have a great rest of your day.